Hello and welcome to the Performance Physique podcast. My name is Arj and I am your head coach. This podcast is all about helping you with your running, your nutrition and your training. We take the jargon out of sports science to help you realise your goals faster than ever before. Let's get started.
Wife Mary, and also on the line is Arj Tiruchelvam, who is head coach at Performance Physique. Arj and also Ken, great to have you on Radio London. Thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me on.
So I'm going to start off firstly, Ken, and then I'll come to you, Arj. You just heard caller Jake there. You can tell I'm not in the best of spirits. I didn't realise how much it would affect me, but I felt really sad today about Tina Turner. What's your take?
Yeah, I mean, it's a very sad one, really, because we've all grown up listening to Tina Turner, and it can connect across generations as well. So yeah. I've listened, my parents have listened, and I'm sure even my kids can probably have a connection as well. So I definitely felt it listening to him, just going back as to what she's meant to him.
Yeah, and I think also you are absolutely right. There are certain artists who kind of stand the test of time, and I think Tina is one of those artists. What about yourself, Arj?
Yeah, well, I come from, quite surprisingly, a very musical family, and she's one of those artists that we had the LP on the hi-fi kind of station. She's a groundbreaking artist, isn't she? And she's going to be truly missed, but no doubt her legacy is going to live on. Yeah,
that's the thing. I started the show and I was saying that we kind of just want our favourite icons to live forever, and that's just not going to happen. Yeah. But the great thing is when it's a musical icon like Tina, you just know she will live on through her music. Generations will pick up. And as I was mentioning, Tina, the musical, it's currently on here in London, and you just know many more people who maybe didn't know as much about her are going to now want to find out about her, aren't they, Arj?
Totally. I think these moments, as sad as they are, they actually introduce a lot of individuals to that type of music. And I can't think of which the artist was recently who passed away, but they've sold more albums and records since they passed than during their actual career. And in one way, that's horrible.
I think it might be a Harry Belafonte that you're talking about, but
really,
yeah. But you're absolutely right. They're right. It's one of those things. I remember when Prince sadly passed away, his music came back in his music catalogue. Came back into the streaming services, and I actually think that is another way. You are right, because everyone's talking about Tina Turner. Those young'uns, let's call them that, in their teens. If they didn't know about her, I suspect many will be looking into her. For now. So thank you, Ken and Arj, for kind of indulging me, because as I say, I'm a big Tina Turner fan. I don't know, it's just like a feeling. I just haven't been able to shake it. I never met her, would have loved to, never even got to see her live, but yet I still feel like I kind of knew her in some way. I don't know what it is.
Music does that to us, doesn't it? It gives us that connection.
Yeah, absolutely. It really does. So look, for anyone tuning into Radio London, if you know how I'm feeling, just talking to my guests, Ken and Arj here, and you just want to WhatsApp me, please do 08000 321 333, start the message with London. You can always drop me an email as well, shay@bbc.co.uk. I'm going to play a quick track and I'm going to come back to Ken and Arj. Stay with me, guys, and I'm going to delve into their stories of the week. Lizzo, About Damn Time on BBC Radio London. It's 4:45. Shay Kaur Grewal, I'm here with you until 6 p.m. today. Text sending 390 says, Shay, 80s Tina is a part of my childhood. It's so sad. She's an icon. Oh, it's Christina who's texted in. Thank you, Christina. So it's 80s Tina that is part of your childhood. Yeah, do you know, Christina, I'd say 90s Tina for me, but I absolutely know what you're talking about as well. Different. This is what my guest was saying actually earlier, that different decades of Tina Turner and her music career have meant that she's touched so many different generations. Thank you for your text. Now, it's 4:45. I'm joined on the line. Really chuffed to have them both with me. My two guests for our week in review. So what we like to do every Thursday for Roundtable is joined by a couple of guests and we delve into their thoughts, their stories of the week. Speaking to me today, I have Ken Okorafor, who is founder and CEO of the Humble Penny, which he runs with his wife, Mary. Also on the line is Arj Thiruchelvam, who is head coach at Performance Physique. So, Ken, I'm going to start with yourself firstly, if I can.
Sure.
And this is a study that you wanted to talk about around happiness and salaries. Tell me more.
So there's a study out there that came out on happiness. So historically, economists, psychologists, philosophers, they've all grappled with this question: can money buy happiness? And in 2010, there was a piece of research by Daniel Kahneman that said that the notion of happiness topped off at around $75,000. So once you got up to that level of earnings, happiness wasn't really a thing anymore. It almost declined the more you earned. But it's new research by a Nobel Prize-winning economist, the same people who actually did the research before, have actually changed it. They've actually concluded that money does appear to boost happiness. And interestingly, it goes all the way up to $500,000, which is a ridiculous amount. But the key word there is up to, exactly. So I thought, you know what, this is actually a really interesting topic because everyone can relate to money. Everyone can relate to the whole idea of happiness. We all want happiness in our lives. But what does it really cost for the happiness? You know, what does that happiness cost? Is trying to earn more money all the time, what impact does that have on our levels of happiness over time? So I thought that might be an interesting one to bring up and discuss.
Absolutely. Let's bring you into this conversation. What's your take then? Because I would have thought most people would say, yeah, more money in the bank, that's always a good thing.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I'm willing to be a study participant if they would like to fund that $500,000. I'm open to sponsorships. No, I've made a lot of decisions in my career which are based on ethics and happiness, in all honesty. And at every point of my career, I have decided at some point that my happiness in that role or in that position came first. And that's actually what led me to becoming a business owner myself and launching Performance Physique, was because I needed to have those decision-making points which would fulfill me, which at some point in time, salary didn't offer that. I think when things get tighter, and I'm sure Ken is going to talk about this, this afternoon, the meaning and the value of money to helping us feel happier, or at least reducing our anxieties, peaks perhaps. So maybe over time, depressions, etc., exaggerate the requirement for salary to be happier. I can completely resonate with that research.
Do you think, Ken, is there a point that Arj makes there that the correlation is such that actually we'd all want to be participants in this survey? But, look, we're going right through at the moment, we're living in the cost of living crisis, and so many, anyone right now would probably say more money is going to help. But when we talk about fundamental happiness, is part of this around how we define happiness, perhaps?
Yeah, so for everybody, I think the things that bring us happiness or things that bring us joy all differ. And I think that's what makes our relationship with money very unique, because each one and every one of us has a different relationship with money, which is tied to the way we've been brought up, over time, what we've learned from our parents. And over time, that's created a bit of a blueprint. And over time, that blueprint can either stay the same in that the relationship you've acquired with money remains the same as with your parents, or it changes over time. However, I think when I think about money personally, I think of money as a tool that can be used to design a life that we want for ourselves. And for everyone, that could be that we are always acquiring more and we're always wanting more. Hence the saying, following the Joneses, or kind of like lifestyle creep. So you earn more money because you want to buy a bigger car, or you want to go on a better holiday, or you want to move out and live in a bigger house, and so on. I think for every single person, there has to be a point where you define what that happiness looks like for you. For some people, it's as little as being able to pay your bills every single month and just have it. No stress. And you're saying to yourself, you know what? I feel peaceful in my heart knowing that I've been able to cover my bills and there's nobody knocking at the door. There are no bailiffs or anything like that. For some other people, it's being able to do that and maybe having one holiday where you create some, lifelong experiences with your loved ones and or your family and things like that. So I think it would differ for people, but I know in this season we're all going through, a bit of money definitely goes a long way for people. And I think money will remain a topic for people, in every season. But I think the one thing we definitely don't want to avoid is the cost of the happiness we're seeking. Because the research also found, interestingly, that for about 15% of people, because of the unhappy situations they were in,
yes,
no matter how much money they had, it didn't matter. So, for example, they could be going through a bereavement, they could be going through a heartbreak or a divorce,
sure,
they could be going through a clinical depression and so on. So, and a lot of that might have come because, they might have been working too much trying to make that money. So there's that part of that argument as well.
Mm-hmm.
And when we talk about, it's quite interesting, Ken, because you've chosen this story around happiness and whether or not money can buy happiness. But it kind of, I think, Arj, leads into your story around dieting and food, because for some people, their happiness is around their health and well-being, isn't it? Tell us about your story today.
Yeah, so my story really relates to a particular TV doctor who is talking about his new intermittent fasting protocol, how it's the groundbreaking method. As long as obviously you get his book, it's the groundbreaking method to help people achieve their weight loss goals. And as you say, Shay, we unfortunately attach our happiness very often to these physical attributes that we desire to achieve. We're worth more than our aesthetic kind of appearance, should I say?
Yeah.
My concern over reading articles like this is the accuracy and the way they are portrayed. And the reason I wanted to discuss this today was because I've seen it crop up on my news feed several times just this week.
Really?
Where, absolutely. By kind of altering the basic formula by a small amount and then kind of giving people that bit of hope, saying this is going to change everything. This is the magic pill that you needed all along, this intermittent fasting of their new Fast 800 approach. And that's not quite accurate, because we've found that intermittent fasting is an effective tool. It's a great tool. I use it myself. I use it with my clients. I use it on my programs, like 4 weeks, 4 kilos. They all utilize this intermittent fasting protocol. However, it doesn't do anything magic other than just give someone another method, a more perhaps appealing method to them to achieve a calorie deficit. And I am much about the reduction of jargon and making things as simple and accessible as possible. Now, what was really interesting in this article, though, is that the addition really is the talk about protein being so important when you diet. And previously, in the commercial areas of dieting, this has been kind of forgotten, and we're witnessing a transition at the moment. We're witnessing people now realizing they have to add more to that sales pitch of a diet by introducing a new food. What was hilarious, though, is the amount recommended for protein in the article. It says 60 grams. This would be basically a nutritional deficiency. So this would be far, far, far too inferior to what is actually needed to be consumed by people in order to live a healthy life.
What's your take on this, Ken? Because what Arj is talking about, in a sense, it's not that it's a new fad diet, but you are right. Intermittent fasting is become so popular now, hasn't it?
So I read the article and I thought, I think it was 60 grams of protein that was recommended. I think that was the
correct. Yeah.
And I did wonder to myself, this doesn't sound like anything new. I felt like this was the same information that was being recycled again from maybe a few years ago. But the one thing that did stand out to me, though, speaking more to intermittent fasting, is I've actually tried this myself. And I'll tell you what I've found. So, and I'm not an expert in this area. It's just something I'm trying from a lifestyle perspective. So I tend to have my food around noon thereabouts, so around 12 o'clock thereabouts, and then I try to have my last meal about 8 p.m. So I have about an 8-hour window, which is pretty much equivalent to missing breakfast or having a breakfast a bit later, but trying not to have your meals a bit later in the evening. The thing I found personally is that I feel, and you can tell me this, AJ, if this makes any sense or not. I feel that my concentration's a lot better. That's the first thing. And secondly, I'm not snacking at crazy hours. So I'm not waking up wanting to snack immediately. And I'm not like in the late evening wanting that snack before I go to bed. So for me personally, it's not really a weight loss thing. So I'm actually, my weight's okay. It's more of a kind of a lifestyle adjustment.
Sounds like it's an interesting lifestyle adjustment. But Arj, what's your take on that? Because, you and I come from communities where we know within the South Asian culture, fasting is very much a part of particular faiths, such as Hinduism, and we only now are the West waking up to the benefits of fasting. Whereas actually, I could tell you if my great grandmother would be sat here, she'd be saying, well, we've been doing this for hundreds of years. So what's your take on that? Is it too commercialized or is there a lot more to understand around it?
Well, I think Ken's spot on, to be honest. It's really about how many easy wins can you achieve when you're looking to live your lifestyle. You don't want extra stresses, particularly not right now. So what Ken is achieving is actually witnessed by an awful lot of people. And the real argument here is that we're not to sell intermittent fasting as this new diet or this solution. We're to use it as a tool to help people get there, because you're exactly right. It's been around for absolutely ages. And there are some people at the moment who are kind of saying it improves your immune system and it helps with cell regeneration and using all these really fancy terms. That occurs with any period of dieting, actually. It's just a normal human process. And I think it's just this kind of marketing approach of let's just be a little bit more honest with people and try to help them reach their goals in the most effective, efficient, and least stressful way. Because going back to that happiness topic, that's my goal. That's why I work with people every single day. I just want to, selfishly, I get happy from seeing them be happy. So.
I get that. Do you think, Ken, there is a lot to be said, as Arj has just mentioned there, around just how particular dieting is reported, or, the way in which it's marketed, essentially?
Oh, massively. And this, you can even say the same for like financial products. It's about that education. It's about that transparency. It's about not overhyping things, not selling like here's a silver bullet. This is a thing that will literally change your life like instantly. Because I think that's really this is the way I see it anyway. When I read lots of these things, they come across as though, oh, sorry, those things I mentioned before are no longer working. This is the one that will work right now. And I think people can see through those things anyway. People are a bit fed up with things like that. So I just think there needs to be more real education and real transparency with stuff like that.
Guys, it's been such a pleasure having you on Radio London. I want to give some details. Ken, I mentioned your organisation, The Humble Penny. People can go to thehumblepenny.com. You've also got a YouTube page and you're on Instagram. All of it, The Humble Penny. And also, Arj, for yourself, people can go to Performance Physique .co.uk and they can find you as well on LinkedIn as well. Arj and Ken, such a pleasure having you both on Radio London. Thank you for joining me this afternoon.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thanks again. Really enjoyed my chat with my guests this afternoon for the Week in Review.
Thank you very much for listening to the Performance Physique podcast. Don't forget, you can find us on Instagram. It's at performance_physique. You can find us on Facebook, Performance Physique, or if you just head to performancephysique.co.uk, and we'll do our very best to help you. It will mean the world to me, though, if you can share this podcast with one friend this week. Right, for now, take care.